Hi guys, it's Mr Henriquez, and today we're going to talk about sentence structure. Now, sentence structure is important because it's one of these ways how you can get higher marks on your writing tests and how you can show that you can use the language in a different way. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create longer and more complicated sentences, but I'm also going to discuss which sentence types we have in English and what a clause is. So, let's get to it. Now, before we can talk about all these different sentence types and all these different sentence constructions, we need to talk about something called the clause. Now, clauses are a collection of words that have a subject and a predicate, and usually this predicate is a verb phrase. Now, we can distinguish between independent clauses and dependent clauses. And the main difference between the two is that independent clauses can be sentences on their own, whereas dependent clauses cannot be sentences on their own. This means that an independent clause has enough information to convey the idea on its own, and that if you would have an independent clause, you would have the entire meaning of the sentence within that sentence. Now, a dependent clause requires extra information to understand what the clause's meaning is. Let's have a look at some examples. Take, for example, the sentence, "The boy kicks the ball." This is an independent clause because this clause on its own can be a sentence and the entire message is clear from this collection of words. Take another example. "The girl threw the shoe." Again, we have an independent clause because all the information we need to understand this sentence is in this sentence. So we don't need extra information to understand what this sentence is about. But what about dependent clauses? Well, dependent clauses are different because we need to have more information to understand the meaning of the sentence. This means that on its own, a dependent clause does not convey the message clearly, and we get a weird sentence if a dependent clause would be a sentence on its own. Let's have a look at some examples. Take, for example, the sentence of "the girl that threw the shoe", and let's say that I want to add more information to create a context in which this happened. Let's say that our sentence will become, "Because her mother didn't give her a cookie, the girl threw the shoe." Now, the independent part is "the girl threw the shoe", and the dependent part is "because her mother didn't want to give her a cookie". Now, let's say that I would take out the entire independent part of the sentence and only have the dependent part as a sentence. So, I would have a sentence with the dependent clause, "because her mother didn't want to give her a cookie". And that makes no sense, because we feel that we need to have more information to understand what this sentence is about. How do we know this? Because of the word "because". That's one of those conjunctions that shows that we need to get more information, or in this case, it's giving us a reason for something. Now, we don't have the thing it's giving the reason for, so that's why we need the independent clause as well. So, to have a correct sentence, we need to have "because her mother didn't want to give her a cookie, the girl threw the shoe". And then we have a complete sentence with a complete message, also known as a complete thought. Now, sometimes the independent clauses are referred to as main clause, but that doesn't make a difference, right? It's the same thing, but with a different name. Let's take another example. Let's take the independent clause, "The teacher ate all the cake". And again, I want to add some information of the time when he ate all the cake. So I'm going to say that he did it while he was on his break. The sentence becomes, "The teacher ate all the cake while he was on his break". Now, the independent part is, of course, "the teacher ate all the cake", and the dependent part is "while he was on his break". Now, the part "while he was on his break" cannot be a sentence on its own, right? I can't have "while he was on his break", full stop. We simply know and feel that we need to have something else, right? It modifies, it adds extra information to something. And if it's not there, it's a very bizarre sentence. So now I talked about clauses, and in particular the independent clauses and dependent clauses, so we can now have a look at all the different sentence constructions. In English, we distinguish 4 sentence constructions. We have simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and compound complex sentences. Simple sentences are sentences that have one independent clause. So, sentences like "the boy kicked the ball" and "the girl threw the shoe" are both simple sentences because they only have one independent clause. Now the sentence length is not the thing that describes or defines its complexity. It's really the fact that you only have one clause that makes it simple. Compound sentences are different. Compound sentences are two independent clauses combined with a coordinating conjunction, and I will talk about coordinating conjunctions later on in this video. Now, these compound sentences are easy to make because the only thing you have to do is add a coordinating conjunction. Let's take the two sentences I mentioned earlier. The boy kicked the ball and the girl threw the shoe. And let's say that I want to create one compound sentence of these two simple sentences. And the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the conjunction and. So we get the sentence, the boy kicked the ball and the girl threw the shoe. And as you can see, we have now, instead of two simple sentences, one compound sentence. Now let's do the same with a different example and a different coordinating conjunction. Let's take the two sentences, I like listening to music and I don't like rap. We have two independent clauses that both can be sentences on their own, so we have two simple sentences. Now let's say I want to create a compound sentence with the conjunction but. So what I do is I add the conjunction but and we get something like this. I like listening to music, but I don't like rap. And again, I've combined two simple sentences into one compound sentence. So what about complex sentences? Well, complex sentences are a bit different. These are sentences with both an independent clause and a dependent clause. So let's have a look at an example. Take the sentence we used earlier. Because her mother didn't want to give her a cookie, she threw the shoe. This is a complex sentence because we have a dependent clause and an independent clause. Let's take another example. Take the sentence, although the weather was nice, we decided not to go to the beach. We have a dependent part, although the weather was nice, and we have an independent part. We decided not to go to the beach. Now, if I were to change the sentence around, we would get something like, we decided not to go to the beach, although the weather was nice. And we have the same constructions and it's still a complex sentence. Here's another complex sentence, but now with a different type of dependent clause. Students who live near the university are always late. Now in this sentence we have the independent clause, students who live near the university are always late, and we have the dependent clause, who live near the university. Now in this sentence we have the dependent clause built into the independent clause in the form of a relative clause, and we know this because of the relative pronoun who. Now the ultimate combination of the two is the compound complex sentence, and this is a sentence in which you have both independent clauses and dependent clauses. Let's take the sentence, the boy who lives near the library kicked the ball and his sister threw the shoe. And in this sentence we have two independent clauses. We have the boy who lives near the library kicked the ball, and we have the independent clause, his sister threw the shoe. And we can combine these two independent clauses with the conjunction and. We also have the dependent clause, who lives near the library. And by combining these with this conjunction, we get a compound complex sentence. So how do you create these different types of sentences? Well, as you might have seen, I used conjunctions to create these different sentence types from simple sentences. Now we can use coordinating conjunctions to create compound sentences and subordinating conjunctions to create complex sentences. Now the coordinating conjunctions are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And you can remember them using fanboys. Now there's a long list of subordinating conjunctions which I'll post on Instagram and in a link in the description. But here are some examples to help you get along and understand them. It's cold outside because it's raining. Unless you start reading more, you won't become a better writer. I try to stay off my phone whenever I'm at school. If you try to call me at night, I probably won't pick up. Schools are closed today and we have a day off since we have no homework. You can get a cookie after you've finished your dinner. They broke up last week even though they told each other that they loved each other. Now you might recognize some of these as linking words, and that's basically what they do. They link ideas and thoughts together. So that's why they can also be linking words. Now the simplest thing you could do is create compound sentences from your simple sentences. And here's an example from a paragraph written by a learner of English, and I will show you how we can create compound sentences with these sentences. So it is a paragraph and it says, "My name is James, I am 20 years old, I live in Manchester, I like gaming, I also like sports." So although this is grammatically correct, there are no grammatical errors, it is very simple, right? These sentences are short, they're simple sentences, and there is no flow in this paragraph. Now I can add coordinating conjunctions to create a bit more flow in this paragraph. Let's have a look. So what I could do is I could create the sentence, "My name is James and I'm 20 years old. I live in Manchester. I like gaming and I also like sports." Another thing I could do is combine a bit longer. So I could create a sentence like, "My name is James, I am 20 years old and I live in Manchester. I like gaming, but I also like sports." So in the second example, I used the conjunctions and but, and in the first example, I used and twice. Now, using subordinating conjunctions, I can create dependent clauses. And as the name suggests, subordinating conjunctions give clauses a different level. They make them less important and thus dependent. So what could you do to improve your writing and get higher results on your writing test? Well, it's not that difficult. Use these subordinating conjunctions or coordinating conjunctions to create more difficult and more complex sentences. Try combining simple sentences into compound sentences, and if the message of your sentence has the possibility to create a complex sentence, do that using subordinating conjunctions. And that's basically it. That's how you get higher results on your writing test. Now, if you found this interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave something in the comment sections if you have questions or you just want to give me some feedback, and stay tuned for the next video because I have some more ideas on how you can get higher results on your writing tests.